Toyota has admitted that in 2030, it will be purchasing carbon credits from Tesla, paying Tesla to continue expanding its company. Direct quote, "Wasted investment is worse than the credit purchase." Who do the companies buy credits from? Tesla, primarily. Wasted investment is worse than the credit purchase. Clearly, Toyota here believe that going all in on EVs or investing seriously into electric cars is just a wasted investment. Guys, I've heard there's a big party going on tonight at Tesla's headquarters, whether that's in Germany or China or Texas or Fremont, California. They're all having big parties because Toyota have admitted that they'll be continuing to fund Tesla's global expansion. The champagne must be flowing. I joke, of course, a little bit serious. In an interview yesterday, Toyota said some interesting comments. They said we're catching up on electric cars, but then they said that EVs will never take off and they'll only ever represent around 30% of the global market, meaning that the rest of the world will never catch up to where China is today, and certainly will not do what Norway or Sweden are doing and adopting EVs as a mainstream type of vehicle. Hello, my friends. Welcome to the channel. I'm Sam Evans. You're watching the Electric Viking. Great to see you. Patreon supporters, thank you so much for supporting the channel. Really appreciate what you do. If you'd like to become a Patreon, I'll put a link in the description below. And guys, by the way, if you want to be a YouTube member, you do get access to some of our members some of our videos a few days in advance. Now, yes, it's true. Toyota did sell 11.3 million vehicles worldwide last year, which is a pretty big percentage considering probably 75 to 78 million cars were sold worldwide. Now, some electric car experts are saying that EVs can't take off without Toyota, that because Toyota is such a big part of the global auto market, that Toyota must be part of the future. And if Toyota don't take EVs seriously, then the world will never actually fully adopt EVs. Now, personally, I think that's absolutely ridiculous. That's just like saying, if Kodak doesn't make smartphones, then the world's never going to buy smartphones. It's like saying, if BlackBerry don't change what they're making and have a screen with no buttons, then no one else is going to do it. And that's not going to work. It's ridiculous. I mean, companies go bankrupt all the time, every week, because they don't adapt and they don't change. Why is Toyota any different? Anyhow, I'm sure you know who made those comments. In a recent interview with Automotive News, Toyota Motor North America's CEO Ted Ogawa reaffirmed the brand's consumer-dependent approach to EVs. Now, consumer-dependent approach. The truth is, really, I mean, Toyota sold less than 1%. Less than 1% of its 11.3 million cars sold last year were electric cars. Now we know that more than 10 million EVs were sold last year. Just because none of them were Toyotas, does that really mean that Toyota is saying they're being consumer dependent? Toyota don't have any compelling electric cars. They're not selling any for that reason, but they're saying that they're giving consumers what they want. I find that just really hard to understand. Now, the truth is, Toyota's purely electric car sales were only 0.68%. Let's round that up. 0.7% of all their vehicle sales in 2023 were fully electric. And even those 0.7%, to be honest, I'm not convinced they were bought by consumers. I think they were mostly bought by fleet groups because most consumers are smart enough not to buy a Toyota BZ4X, knowing there's better choices from other automakers, much better choices. Anyway, the company believes EVs will only be 30% of the US market by 2030, and that figure is far less than the EV market envisioned in its Environmental Protection Agency proposals. Of course, the White House, the President Joe Biden, is promoting EVs and saying that, yeah, America will be better off. Its air quality will be better off. Its citizens will be better off if we hit at least 50% in 2030, if America hits at least 50%. Now, of course, other countries like Europe are saying 100% by 2035. You've got other states in America saying we're banning the sale of internal combustion engine vehicles. You've got countries in Africa now doing it. You've got China saying we're going to charge you 5 times more money to register an internal combustion engine vehicle. In China, most experts believe 50% of all car sales this year will be fully electric cars. So the market has already gone above Toyota's so-called capping point of 30%. This is interesting from Toyota, but I just believe they're being delusional here. Anyhow, I know the EPA is now reconsidering what the regulation level should be, said Toyota's head in North America. Our starting point is what the customer demand should be. He said what the demand should be. Interesting terminology here. So for example, 2030 regulations said the new car market, more than half of it should be electric, but our current plan is 30%. We are respecting the regulation, but more important is customer demand. Toyota has been accused of, not taking EVs seriously, and they have spent hundreds of millions of dollars. In fact, some organizations say more than $1 billion lobbying governments to slow down electrification. After vigorous lobbying by automakers, dealer groups, and oil companies, the Biden administration is reportedly considering relaxing its EPA rules. And that's about emissions from their tailpipe, which that's the worst thing about a car, in my opinion. In its initial proposal, the EPA required 2/3 of new light-duty passenger car sales to be electric by 2032. An alternative ruling that the EPA might finalize would still require more than 50% EV penetration, far lower than what Toyota is prepared to do. So Toyota is saying they don't want to do what the government is saying they need to do in 2030, and they're not going to. Doesn't matter what the government says. This will mean Toyota will have to pay a fine, or they'll have to pay for carbon credits. Who will have to buy them from? Probably someone like Tesla. That's how Tesla makes billions of dollars. In fact, Tesla have made, I believe, $9.6 billion over the past 5 years from the sale of carbon credits. And who are they selling them to? Other automakers. I'm sure Toyota has been one of their customers at some point. Anyhow, Toyota is saying customers should buy their hydrogen-powered cars. That's what they're saying. But there's no demand for them, which is the reason Toyota have discounted their hydrogen-powered cars by $40,000 US. But actually, it's not really $40,000. It's more like $55,000, because you get a $40,000 discount on a hydrogen car from Toyota, plus you get a $15,000 discount fuel card. So you get $15,000 of free fuel. By the way, the fuel is extremely expensive. It's more than twice the cost of gasoline. And there's not many fueling stations. You can see why no one's buying them. You can see why they're not going to take off. Anyhow, guys, I think it's very clear here. If you're invested in Toyota, make sure it's to short them. That's my suggestion. Not to see some growth story here. Because yes, whilst it's true that at the moment Toyota is the largest car manufacturer in the world, it's very clear it's only a matter of time before BYD or Tesla take that mantle away from them. Their attitude is clearly one of not wanting to change. Thank you for watching.